Good evening, good evening. Welcome to Now Chat Show. I'm your host, your girl, Kaz Mac. And if it's your first time to Now Chat Show, this is a platform to inspire. Now, guys, currently we have been doing a series on well-being. 2 weeks ago, we had Chantal from Mau Fashion, who basically done a episode focusing on why you should be getting dressed whilst you're working at home, or even if you just job hunting, or if you go on a Zoom meeting, or whatever it is that you're currently doing at home. So she was talking about why it's so imperative for us to be getting dressed when we're not going anywhere. She also shared in regards to different colours, what impact it has into our personal mood, etc. So if you haven't seen that episode, please do check it out. Last week, Sunday, I was honoured to get my face beat by Mitchell from Bold Brushes. Now, this guy, he's a makeup artist. Ladies, if there's any ladies watching right now, you need to check out this episode because he actually got a natural look and then he done this whole glam look. So for all of us ladies that love to get our face beat and you just want to get some professional tips, do go over to our platform and make sure you watch that episode because he will give you some tips. Now, today, this evening, we have an amazing guest. Her name is Olivia Williams. Now, she's going to be on here today with us because she's going to be talking about fitness motivation, why it's essential for us to be keeping fit, eating healthy, particularly in these times, because obviously, guys, we are living in some strange times. And for me personally, I find it quite challenging to get up and go and train, etc. You probably been watching on my Instagrams and things like that and thinking, really, girl, Kaz, really, you? We see you do your skipping and your spinning and your body pump, but trust me, it's not easy. So we have a professional that's going to really just give us some motivational tips and tell us exactly why it's important for us to be working at, and also what tips we should be doing currently right now to build up our immune system, because that's one of the things that the government have not been giving us information in regards to that, but this lady is going to do that. So before I get started, please do feel free to leave any comments, and myself and Olivia will ensure that we get those questions answered for you. So before I get into it, sorry, I'm a bit blurry today because it's just Sunday, and you're just a bit too chilled. So anyway, I'm going to put my little glass. So I'm going to introduce my special guest, Olivia Williams, who is the founder of ScriptFit. She's a qualified holistic health coach, personal trainer, weight loss specialist, and nutritionist. And she's a physical activity, nutrition, and health promotion. Olivia helps leaders extend their life for tomorrow by energizing their bodies for today. Coaching and equipping leaders for a life of longevity in soul, body, and spirit is her passion. So, guys, welcome aboard, Olivia Williams. Olivia,
hi,
in the
guys.
studio. Okay, I didn't get no memo that I'm supposed to be like in some gym gear.
Well, you have to last week. The show that you had last week, it did say, while we're inside of our houses, there's no excuse not to, to get yourselves ready and to be ready. Again, it's something that lifts up your mood when you just feel nice.
Definitely, but you look beautiful. I'm just loving everything about your hair, your makeup, even your attire. So let's get straight in. But first and foremost, how are you? How are you doing? Especially
I am well.
Strange of key times that we're living in. You look well. It doesn't look like this situation is having an impact on you whatsoever. You just look great right now.
It's crazy because people have actually asked me that over the last few weeks. They said, Olivia, how are you really coping with this pandemic? And to be really truthful with you, I have felt so peaceful in a place of a storm. It's a place where my mental health I can say that I've gone from strength to strength during this time, because I feel that what was already on the inside of me is now what's coming out through crisis. And people would laugh and say, oh, you've been working out, you do this, you do that. But it was almost like it was preparation. I was being prepared for what I didn't know what was to come. So it's almost like investing. And I've invested in, my mental health is something that, we will speak about later. Mental health, even down to my physics. And, where you just mentioned, even down to my hair. During this interesting season, my hair has gone through some crazy amount of growth. And again, it's based on the things that I've placed on the inside of me, my whole energy. How do I feel? What do I look like? Where do I want to be? And it's literally kept me girded through this storm. And I just feel like it's a time now where, because I feel so rested and I feel so great about where I am, and I'm not discounting anybody that's lost, because there's been a lot of loss this year. It's been a very testing and challenging time, but it displayed to me the importance of the people that were around me and who were around me to help me to get through the storm. And we're still in the storm, but I feel at a place of peace.
Beautiful. I love that. But I'm going to ask you, how did you start your journey regarding ScriptFit? What is ScriptFit? For those who are watching that may not necessarily know about your brand, what is ScriptFit, and how did you get started to become a qualified holistic health coach, personal trainer, weight loss specialist? Oh my gosh, girl, this list is so long, yeah? I'm just like, how is she all of these things, all at once? But how did you get started in this journey? Because this is something that, you do hear about people want to, become personal trainers, and also you've done bodybuilding work as well in the past, right? Is that correct?
Yes, so that's correct.
How did your fitness journey start for you?
Well, if I went back, really back in time to, I was always training in school, and, I love to compete. But then in 2000, and I'm just trying to think of the year now. In fact, when I was 25, just before my 25th birthday, I lost somebody really close to me, and it was devastating. It broke my heart. It took me a long time to get through it. I'd gone through periods of time where depression was there, but people didn't know it was there. It was so surreal that I had to kind of take myself into a place of peace, but I didn't know how. And then in 2009, I met a personal trainer at the time, Chris Burford. And Chris Burford, I remember when we just connected straight away, and he said, how do you fancy doing bodybuilding? I was like, oh, bodybuilding, that's for men. And he said, is that what you really think? And I said, yeah. And then one Sunday he said, come out. Do you want to come out and see what the bodybuilding is like today? And I said, why not? And I was blown away by the level of discipline, the commitment. And then I went on this journey. And it was a journey for literally 12 weeks. But even the first 4 weeks, my body changed drastically. And if anybody out there is listening, no, there was no drugs involved. It was literally a natural physical association that I was part of. So 4 weeks in, my body changed. 8 weeks in, I could have competed. And then 12 weeks in, my muscles just went from, I didn't even know these muscles even existed. But even during that time, it took me on a spiritual journey, it took me on a physical journey, and it took me on a mental journey. So all three parts of it, it just interconnected with each other, and it wove itself into my DNA. And then because the thing is, I always felt the need to help others. And often, when I said, when I was 25 and I lost somebody, really, really close to me, this was a person that I thought that I would have grown old with. And when I lost him, it was a leader that was in his, well-respected community. And it really shook me, because I thought this death could have been prevented, and it could have been prevented in so many ways. The way that, we kind of played sometimes Russian roulette with our health. And the day that he passed, it was a day that it broke inside of me as well. And it said, I remember hearing that this is not going to happen to anybody else on my watch. And I remember from that day that I said, I will go through the uttermost places. I will study, I will search, and I will help to save somebody's life. So when I competed in 2009, it brought everything back to remembrance. And then when I was 34, I remember going for a period of fasting, and it was literally 1 week into the fast where I'd gone through, because I know I could see now with research where, they speak about intermittent fasting and the benefits of it, but it literally opened up the spirituality side. And this was when I heard the words loud and clear, ScriptFit. And I said, what is that? But then when I looked up at the definition of it, it meant script is scripture. And fit is bringing people back into the wholeness of how God brought them into this world. So how they were brought in whole in their mind, they were brought in whole in their physics, their emotions, their body. And this is where, people I've seen, where research says, how can we really get back to optimum health? And the answer is yes, we can. And this is where ScriptFit comes in, because it's not just about, I want the six-pack look, and are you ready for that six-pack? The six-pack will come later. The first and foremost for me is saving you from premature death. And, I see it time and time again where people say, oh, it was their time. And sometimes it's not their time. This is where sometimes, there can be lifestyle changes that could have prevented such things. And it then got me on a path of really studying it and looking at. So I researched a lot. Even when I went back and did my master's 3 years ago, it really got me into an intense study of even studying different ethnicities and blood types and, what happens to our body. And especially when I found out that 80% of diseases actually stem from lifestyle illnesses, it just made me really think that, hold on a minute, a lot of people are actually dying from premature death, and they think it's their time, and it's not. So this is where ScriptFit literally got birthed, and I just said it's definitely in my DNA. It's my passion to save people's lives, and for me, I just feel that I couldn't do anything else apart from that. I look at my journey through the years and where if for anybody that knows me, I used to work in the airline industry. And even when I was working in the airline industry, it would always be in my thoughts, how can I save somebody's life? And, I was going back and forth from the airlines. Then I started doing the personal training. I was studying. Then I'd go back to the personal training. Then I would go and learn about the weight loss. And then so I became qualified in all of this. And then 3 years ago, it was just the timing came. And I just remember God saying, it's time. It's time to get started on what I've told you be and do. So here I am, ScriptFit's here, and I'm here to help to prevent. And because what I found, even for myself over the years, I had a lot of trips back and forth to the doctors. There were certain diagnoses that they'd given me, and I weren't comfortable with those. I would always challenge the doctors, and I'd go and research it for myself and not just pop a pill. And what I found over the years was the doctors didn't have time. And because they didn't have time to sit there and find out, okay, what is actually the root cause? It was always, let's just treat it. Let's just treat the issue. But they don't know what the root
rather than dealing with the root problem.
Yes. So those were the things that really bothered me. And this is where it really, it was something that angered me at the same time, because I said, how many people, apart from me, are going into the surgeries and they're not getting down to the root of the cause? So again, part of it is really getting down to the root. It's about improving health. It's about making, people better. It's about bringing, energy. It's about making yourself, feel confident in who you are. And it's also about reversal of diseases, because diseases can be reversed. The same way they came, it's the same way that they go. I can testify for that because it's happened to me. So this is where ScriptFit came in.
That's amazing. I'm loving your story, and in regards to what you've actually personally experienced in order for you to be on your journey with your brand right now. But going back to, you mentioned a couple of things in regards to, when you was dealing with depression as well at the time after losing a loved one, and I give my condolences in regards to that. But what helped you to become disciplined? Because in order for you to be a bodybuilder, right, you need to really have the right kind of mindset, because it's not only just talking about, like you said, in terms of like your physicality, but it's also your diet and things like that. So how was that for you, especially dealing with like losing a loved one? Did it help you to be able to have a different focus, to take away from, you grieving at the time? Can you expand a bit more in that area?
I would definitely say 150%, because even when I thought that I could move on, I'd got into a relationship not long after, and that relationship broke down. And where that relationship broke down, I knew then that wasn't it. It was a part of me not understanding who I really was. And because I didn't know who I was, it was about self-discovery at that time. So when I met Chris Burford, and we got into, so it was initially, I went to the gym literally looking for a personal trainer just to help to just take my mind off things and just move through life. I didn't purposely go into the journey of bodybuilding. It wasn't something that I had aspired to. So what I found during that time was Chris was very much, he was very much encouraging. And because he was encouraging, this was a positive role model that I would say that was in my life. And with that encouragement and with his education, with his skills and with his knowledge, I said, hold on a minute, this man knows more than what I think he does. So I trusted him at that time. So going through that journey, it helped me to really focus on who I was. And it literally just separated me from who I was, because it gave me a time to really look at life and say, what do I want from life? And I remember the first day, in fact, it happened the night before. And I remember phoning him, and he said to me, right, if you want to do bodybuilding and you're serious, you have to be disciplined and you have to be committed. He said, are you ready to commit and are you ready to be disciplined? And I said, yeah. He said, all right, we'll see. And then one day, it was just literally, I went on a trip, and I'll be honest, I ate myself silly. I ate and I ate and I ate and I ate. And I got to the point where I was so tired of eating that day. I landed, as soon as I landed, I made the phone call, and it was something that literally clicked in my brain that said, right, I want to live. I want to live for longevity. Right. Let me do this. And I phoned him and I said, I'm ready. He said, yeah. Are you sure? I said, I'm ready. He said, okay, if you're ready, come and see me tomorrow. I was there on time. I was like, what we doing? Where's my diet plan? And it was something, like I said, that had clicked in my mind that said commitment, life. And then I also thought about the person that I'd lost years ago, because, it was a case of maybe at the time, and I know at the time when he passed away, I wanted to join him. That was how it was. I wanted to join him. He left the earth. I was like, why did he leave me behind? I want to go too. But when I had started the bodybuilding journey, it was, hold on a minute. I'm not ready to meet you yet. I'm going to meet you when I'm in my old age where I can see my children's children. And that's how it is. But it had to take to a place where the shift had to take place in my mind. And it was literally live or die.
So in regards to that, what you just said there, like the shift had to happen within your mental mind. And obviously this program, this actual episode today is about, fitness motivation. That's what we're going to be exploring, especially for our well-being. But how can we, like those that is dealing with like mental health issue, how can we then train our mind to, want to train, to get to that place? Because like you explained, you was eating yourself silly. Now you've got to a stage where you've got to a place where, it's just like, I want to live. I want to have a longevity of life now. So how can one, how would you advise someone to get to that mindset? Because not everybody's there, but what is the steps? Is there any steps?
Yeah, I would say there is steps, because first and foremost, check your circle. And I can't stress that enough. Check your circle. If there's people that are bringing you down, you don't feel good around them, you feel hopeless around them, you feel that they don't get even down to your vision. It's like that saying that says misery loves company. They love when, you explain something to them and it's not quite going right. Those are the people that you need to literally shift out of your life. Move them aside. That's what I'm saying.
But what if you're the person who is that? Because I hear what you're saying, and I always hear this from people all the time after time, check your circle. But what if you're the actual person that is negative, that is draining, that is all of those things that you're kind of like saying, you don't really want to have those people around you, but you're that person? How can that person go about change?
Because the thing is, there are people like that, and even when I look at myself over the years, and I thought, am I that person that people would like to hang around with when you're going through depression, anxiety? And this is when you then get to the place where you have to reach out for the help, and you really have to reach out for help, because sometimes we stay so secluded in our own little world that the toxic nature and everything around you starts to become infatuated in your world. So what I would say for somebody who may feel like they are the ones that are the negative ones, it's now about getting to the source. What is causing you to feel so negative? If it's things like, say, for example, social media, if it's the newspapers, if it's those sorts of things, because we are responsible, or you are responsible, for what goes on the inside of your mind. 90% of information that we receive daily is literally toxic for our soul, which is something that I shared last week. We can open up the newspaper and there's some sort of fear mongering, there's some sort of negative factor that's literally trying to seep into the mind. So now for that person who is looking at themselves and they're thinking, hold on a minute, it might actually be me, I might be that negative one. It's now about writing down, what is it that has caused you to feel that way? Because it's not just about brushing past the surface, which is what I was saying before. It's now getting to the root of it. What is the root of the matter? What has actually caused me to feel like this? Is it bitterness? Is it unforgiveness? Am I holding some sort of anger for somebody, some sort of remorse for somebody? So now it's about getting to those things. And even what I found over the years, journaling. Journaling was something that I would highly, highly recommend, because when I started to get myself into a funk, I start to really write down, what is it? What is my emotions? What triggers me? Because there will always be trigger points. There's going to be something that triggers you. And it might even, like I said, it might just be one person again. Is there something that they say? Are you comparing yourself with them? Why are you comparing yourself with them? What is it about you?
It's really like taking responsibility, really, isn't it? It's really about you taking responsibility. Yeah.
You are responsible for what goes on in your mind. It's definitely a responsibility action, because, when you can take responsibility for your own actions, you are ready for change. But if you can continue to keep blaming others and looking at others like others are the problem, then that's when it's always just going to continue being that cycle. But it's looking within yourself and saying, right, okay, I'm now going to take responsibility for who I am, where I come from, what I'm doing. And now it's about, okay, right, what can I do to now bring change? And again, going back to, do I want to die? What do I really want? And the thing is also, it could be, I'm just throwing it out there. Somebody who could be in that state of emotion. It could also be environmental factors. It could be down to healthy eating. It could be down to, it could be a number of factors.
I was actually thinking that. I was going to actually ask you next, could it be diet as well? Could it be about the food that we're eating? Because I also wanted to touch in regards to because you've been doing like some IGTV like videos in regards to like say sugar, water, and things like that. And could you explore more in regards to why it's so important for us to really just like reduce the amount of sugar that we're actually allowing into our body? What is the impact? What is the downfall that it has on our bodies?
Yeah, so with say for example, for junk food doesn't act as anything that's going to help to balance the body. What happens with junk food? Junk food sets the body off balance, and where it starts to set the body off balance, it starts to set the brain off balance as well. So there comes this inconsistency. So with certain foods that you may eat, it brings down your mood levels. So let's say, for example, I'm going to use sugar, for example. I mean, I've got an example. So we look at super malt, for example. You might feel like, okay, right, I want to just drink a super malt. I feel like I need a little bit of energy. And you're thinking, okay, there's a lot of iron in there, but at the same time, it's got, numerous tablespoons of sugar in there. Then
Really?
what happens is that the body goes through an absolute crashing system. So where it crashes, your moods come down. Where your moods come down, you then get into a stink. And where you're now in a stink, you can't work out what is wrong with you. But what is wrong with you is actually that you're now deprived from the sugar, because what happens with sugar? Sugar acts like, in fact, it has the same similar properties what happens in the brain of that of crack. So when you're taking crack, it sends you on this high. Sugar has that same effect that happens within the brain signals. So the brain feels like, okay, I'm now on a high. And now that I'm on a high, I want to stay here. But it can't stay there because the sugar has now worn out of your system. And because it's worn out of your system, it brings you into that crash. So when you go up in your moods, the brain can't actually sustain itself. And it doesn't know, it starts to numb out certain areas. Like, am I really hungry? Do I feel for good food? It's going to tell you no, because right now the sugar is actually sustaining it. And because it's sustaining it, it then brings it. And what sugar then actually does, when you've had too much of it, it starts to strip down the immune system. So where it starts to strip it down, we'll look at winter. This is the season where, we speak about flu. These are the things that people go for. They draw for the sugar. So sugar is increased during the season. Reduced water. So where people are not getting the same amount of water that they were having during the summer months. So you've got an increased amount of sugar. You've got less water intake. With the less water intake, you're also having less fruit and vegetable intake, because, summertime, people are feeling for the smoothies. They're feeling for, all the fresh stuff. There may be the fresh salads and stuff like that. But now when it's winter, you want more of the warm stuff. You want the apple crumbles, you want the custards, and you want those things that are going to make you feel like, oh, this feels so good. But as it makes you feel, oh, so good, it brings you into a crash later on. And those are the times where you look at somebody who may be having challenges with their mental health because of food. Food has actually brought them into a place of, so if they're not getting an adequate amount of, say, for example, we've got one of the foods that helps to balance out stress, which is, I'm trying to think of apricots. Apricots is a great one.
Oh, apricots, really? I was told that bananas also helps with depression. If you're feeling quite depressed as well, bananas as well, right?
Yeah, because what bananas has is magnesium. So if somebody's feeling in a funk, it might actually be because they're low or they're lacking magnesium. They actually might be lacking the zinc. And again, when we look at the immune system and what's happening in this current climate, people may not necessarily be getting those adequate nutrients into their body to be able to fight, all these viruses that are taking place. So it's about having an adequate amount of fruit, vegetables, fruit, water intake, because what water does, water helps to carry the oxygen around the body. And if you're not a certain amount of oxygen around the body, how does the cells move around the body? So you might be getting headaches, you may be getting tired, you feel ratty, it sets off your water balances again. So you might be tired, you might have insomnia, you can't sleep. But
Yeah.
water actually sits on a balance because our bodies are made up of up to 70% of water. So as the body's
That's
made up of up to
crazy, isn't
70%,
it?
the brain is made up of up to 85%. And then you've got the skin, which is made up of water. You've got your eyes. Everything needs water. So if
Water,
you're
yeah.
not getting
So
water taken
can I
into
just
your
ask a
body,
question, Olivia? So in regards to water, so for example, if I say like this, somebody may be watching right now, they don't particularly like drinking water. But if they were to drink, say, flavored water, can that run? Can that work?
the only thing that I have a problem with when it comes to water, and it's something that I've researched, is what water, the flavored water does. When I did a challenge a couple of months ago, I did a challenge based on reducing the sugars and having a look at what the sugar intake, what sugar has. In fact, there's like 61 different names for sugar. So what these flavored waters have is the substitute, and the substitutes for sugar is actually worse than anything else because it's added sweeteners, and those sweeteners add more calories. And because they add more calories, then especially if you're not exercising in this time, you're going to have weight gain. And then if you're going to have
Right.
weight gain, again, it starts to upset your mood. It starts to offset your balances within your hormones. So with water, what I tend to do, because there's times when it's not all the time that I feel like drinking water. But what I will do in order to trick the brain, I will get a large jug and I will throw cucumbers, I will throw oranges in there, I'll even maybe throw a couple of slices of apples, but it will literally soak in and it will marinate itself and the water will be flavored there.
So it's infusing the water and it gives it that
Yeah,
flavor.
so it gives it a lovely taste. You can even throw like your fresh herbs in there. Once you throw your fresh herbs in there, like I said, it just gives it a nice little taste. Add, your squeeze of lime if you have to, because then again, it's like part of your vitamin C's. But the only what I find with, if you're going to add certain things into your water, depending on, again, your diet, when we're looking at things like, say, for example, vitamin C, if you're going to squeeze an orange or you're going to squeeze in the lime, you may be getting the taste, but you might not be getting the added benefits for it. So say, for example, because what I'm saying is if there was somebody out there, for example, that smokes, what would happen with vitamin C? Vitamin C is stripped by tobacco. Tobacco strips it. So you may not be getting, so when you think to yourself, hold on a minute, why am I still getting a cold? But it could actually be the tobacco and the vitamin C that is having a clash, and it strips down the vitamin C. It's just like vitamin A is another one. If you drink alcohol, and everything obviously is in moderation, but there are research that shows that alcohol strips down vitamin A. So it's about balancing everything out and trying to get as much fresh foods into your system in order to balance it out.
That's amazing. Like I'm just like flabbergasted by all this information you're giving. So tobacco, because I ain't gonna lie, I'm like a casual smoker in it. So every now and then, when I do drink like a little prosecco or something, I may have a bit of tobacco. Not all the time. Not trying to put it out there, but I know for myself I shouldn't. But it's just like it's a bit of a habit, and I know for myself it's not something that I really want to continue doing. But in regards to, because you mentioned about the water, I wanted to ask you, what should be our daily water intake?
Okay, so it depends upon your body weight, and because obviously everybody's different. And again, during this time, it depends how much exercise you're doing, because if you're not perspiring, then what you're going to find is the water intake might be just literally just going around your system and you're not finding ways to expel it. We're going to get across to the subject of the mask in a little while. So, you could continue to drink. So, a minimum of 2 liters a day is sufficient. But just make sure that when you're having those 2 liters that you are doing something with it. Because the one thing that I would say about water is you can drink, say for example, 2 liters a day, but if you have a diet that is high in salt, for example, What salt does, it acts as it's like water retention. So if you've got a sponge, you've got all the water that's literally inside of that sponge, or the salt that's inside of the sponge, and everything is just literally just held. And it doesn't dispel it like how you'd want it. So if you're sitting down, for example, and you've got swelling of the feet, swelling of the ankles, puffiness underneath your eyes, that could, and you're thinking, hold on a minute, I'm drinking loads of water a day. But check your diet. Are you eating so much salt that your body cannot dispel it? And because it can't dispel it properly, what is happening is your kidneys now are holding on to the salts. And this is when it starts to break down your kidneys. This is when kidney stones happens. And this is where, again, it just starts to break down. And you've got, one of the things that is so common in this season is inflammation. So if you're not getting that balance, inflammation comes in and it takes over your body if you're not careful in how you balance out the food. So, everything is definitely about balance and getting everything right.
Because for me, I tend to try and drink as much water, 2 liters water, or at least a liter. But what I tend to do, I will drink it like in my tea. So where I may have, like, say, herbal tea, and I'll just like put some lime or lemon in the tea as well. So I'm still getting some form of like a water intake. But it's really interesting to hear what you're saying in regards to you could still be doing that. But then if your diet is containing so much salt, you're not really going to be benefiting from drinking all this water because of all the salt and the impact what the salt is going to have on the body, correct?
That's right. And
again,
so with the water, it's important. It's important that if there is anybody that's dealing with any mental health issues, that water is a regular part of their routine. Because again, with water, getting the energy, getting the blood cells pumping, and as the blood cells pump around the body, what you'll find then is the water will help to raise the moods. So where you might be feeling down, water's helps actually just to raise everything within your body. It makes you, again, like I said, it gives you that place of, okay, right, I feel good. I feel that I'm doing something, and it helps to then bring that creativity. It helps to bring productivity. Because if you're not drinking water, what's happening is you're shutting off certain systems. So going from the rest of your body, the water's trying to travel itself around, it's trying to travel to the neck, and it's trying to get to the brain. Your brain is dehydrated. How do you think? How do you write? How are you productive? You're going to be tired, you can't sleep, and you just get in a mood. And when you get into a mood, you think, okay, doctor, I need to then go and have some antidepressants, for example, because my mood is off. I'm not feeling how I was feeling maybe last month. But that could also be down to water. So how is your water intake? Try, I always say to somebody, try and, start it off small. If you're not used to drinking water, start off with a couple of glasses for the day.
Yeah. Because can you not drink like, say, is it about 8 glasses, like 8 tumble glasses a day? Isn't that almost like equivalent to, like, say, maybe a liter or something like that? That's quite sufficient, right? So it's just starting off small and just working your way up. Yeah.
It's not everybody that feels that they can drink water, because I do know individuals that they do really struggle to have the 8 glasses a day. But what I've also found, motivational bottles, when you see that you've got to a certain time, then okay, it's time to take a sip, and just have those bottles close by, so that when you fill up, okay, right, I've actually done half of the bottle and I can go again. But then if you haven't got anything to encourage you, and you haven't got anybody to encourage you except for yourself, then I would suggest the motivational bottles. Have a little marker by your desk, and then even reward yourself at the end of it. Say, right, I've actually drunk.
You reward yourself with a bar of chocolate. I'm only joking. I'm joking. That was a joke. Because
that's the thing.
When I think about rewarding myself, I think that's something nice. So if I'm going to drink some water, I'm looking for something sweet. So maybe it could be just having some fruits, right, or something like that, perhaps.
Yeah, because again, the natural sugars are something that's going to help to balance out your mood. Because what you'll find with artificial sugars, because of the amount of chemicals that's placed in artificial sugars, what happens with white sugar, which is what I was explaining a few months ago, was the white sugars. What happens is it goes through a process. And what was sugar cane? You remember the sugar cane when you look at the actual plant itself and how it's grown. So sugar cane is actually stripped, and when it's stripped, it becomes molasses. And in that molasses is very bitter. So when it goes through its milling process, the milling process of sugar, chemicals are then added. And where it's added, it gives it that additional taste. And it's the taste of, okay, the addiction now comes in, because, you know, unless your taste buds, which you can train, is acquired to molasses, then it can work for you. But if not, what you're going to find, they're not putting molasses in the foods. They're actually putting the processed sugar. And because the processed sugar has now gone into the system, it wires into the brain, into your DNA, and it forms your DNA pattern. So you then can recall certain tastes. So this is why it's hard to remove yourself from these sugars, because of the chemicals, like I said, and all these chemicals that they've placed in the sugars is what actually strips out the body. And because it strips out the body's now warring against, you've got the processed sugar, you've got processed food, and then you've got the body. So everything now is in your system, and your body's like, hold it a minute, what is all of this and where's it going? Because what the body actually does, it actually searches for the nutrients and the good stuff. So say, for example, vitamin C, the body strips it out and it goes to, say, for example, your skin. You know, if it needs vitamin E for the hair, you know, it looks for these things and then it heads its way over there. So if you're continuously putting in things that are not edifying the body, then where does it go? So this is where it starts to break down the system, and these are, you know, cancers and all these things come in.
What we do, so thank you for sharing and giving us a good insight in regards to the sugar and water and the impact that it has on our body and everything else, because I am mindful about the time and everything else, and we still got so much we want to cover. But what I really, because obviously the ultimate reason for this actual episode itself, because obviously we're on a series in regards to well-being. So if it's your first time joining, thank you so much for joining. You could be anywhere else, but the fact that you're here, we are so appreciative of you joining and listening right now. But how can one stay motivated, especially in this time? Because you've mentioned quite a few key things in terms of the season that we're in. You know, obviously you said that how when you compare, say, to the winter, compared to the summer months you want to eat the fresh foods, etc. And obviously you're going to want to be training, you want to be looking cute and everything else. So you're going to, you know, go the extra mile in that season. But how can we stay motivated, especially in the pandemic time that we're in currently, especially if you're working from home or you're unemployed or you're, you know, mum or whoever at this present moment? How can we get motivated in regards to our fitness?
Well, first and foremost is what I mentioned before. You have to come to a place where you say, do I want to live? Do I want to die? You look at your why. Why am I doing it? Am I just doing it, like I said, for the six pack? Am I doing it because I want to look cute? What am I actually doing it for? Am I doing it because I actually want to keep myself healthy? I want to get through this pandemic. I want to be able to stand strong on the other side of it. So these are the things that we're looking out for. Do I want to be able to manage my own body? Do I want to be going into the doctor's surgery, asking the doctor to diagnose me when I should know myself? You know, there's things that, you know, that goes beyond what we can see, which is why we go there. But at the same time, it's looking at yourself and managing your own health. Where am I? What am I doing? You know, what does my body say? Being in tune with it. So that's the first and foremost. I say, why do you want to do it? And then when you know why, it will help to guide you to the next point. For me, personally, I have that accountability. And the accountabilities, you know, they may not necessarily say to me, oh, Olivia, should you be eating that? Or Olivia, do you think you're eating too much of that? Because if there is a case where, you know, back in the day, I used to eat tubs. You know, one of my favorites was like a whole tub of vanilla ice cream. And I would just sit there and eat a whole tub of vanilla ice cream. And, a couple of times, I said, Olivia, are you sure you want to be eating all of that? So that accountability, so just make sure that you've got an accountability partner, just somebody who's going to check you, somebody that's going to just say to you, and you don't mind them correcting you, because at the end of the day, if they really and truly love you, they will correct you. They will help you on your journey, because they're the ones that don't want to see you in, the hospital right about now. Nobody wants to go to the hospitals. That's how it is right about now.
But in regards to, sorry to cut you, but something I wanted to just add there, even because, like some people may not potentially not have somebody that say like is a personal trainer or has a background in terms of be able to be their accountability partner, to be able to say, right, you should be eating this, you should be doing that. Could you still even like create groups, like obviously you've got like WhatsApp groups, you've got so many different groups that, that you can be accountable, have accountability partner within the group.
150%. 150%. Get into some of those groups, even create the group, be that one that creates the group and say, look, I'm struggling here. I need to maybe lose some weight. I want to tone. I want to do this and I want to do that. And first and foremost, I don't want to end up in this hospital in this time. So can you really help me? When you've got that accountability, that person within the group, there'll be people that should really be checking up on you. And if you're in a household, if you're amongst, you've got somebody who does the shopping, tell them what your struggles are. Because if you don't tell people what your struggles are, they'll just keep feeding you. I remember working in an area where the neighbor thought he was actually doing the person good. He was actually feeding her, but what he was doing, he was feeding her disease. And the more and more he kept feeding her, the more and more he just thought, okay, I was bringing a present for her. It was her craving, it was her favorite. But what he didn't realize was that he was actually destroying this woman's immune system. And her system became so destroyed that she had to go out and seek professional help. Because otherwise, if she didn't make lifestyle changes at that point, he would have been the one that would have been responsible for her death, because he was actually just giving it to her. And she was taking it because for her, it was, oh, thanks. He doesn't know this is actually my weakness. But until it actually got spoken, so sometimes you really have to speak it out. Speak it out to that person in the house and just say, look, I'm really struggling. So, if you're doing the shopping, go with a shopping list. I always say that's the one thing that it stops me. And don't get me wrong, there are things that, if I do fancy, I'm going to go into the shops and I'm going to buy it. But obviously I'm mindful of what I'm buying and what I'm eating. But if you have to go in with a shopping list, because when you go in with a shopping list, you will then know what you're picking up based on your list. And it will also help you with budgeting, and it will help you with the financial costs as well. Because, I always say, never go shopping when you're hungry, because you then end up picking rubbish. You get home and you think, what did I actually buy? And I'm going to eat it because it was my hard-earned money that bought it. Go with a shopping list. And the other thing that I would say also, have a meal plan. But even put it on your fridge, put it on your cupboard. So at least when you have a meal plan, okay, right, this is what I'm going to have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. If I fancy, the takeaway on this, on the Sunday, then so be it. But have a plan, because when you find that you've got a meal plan for every single day of the week, it will tie in with your shopping list, and then it will tie in with your budget. Then at least you can see exactly where your money is going, and exactly what's going into your body as well. You can start to calculate, okay, right, this has got this and that. Okay, I don't need this because it's not urgent and it's not a necessity.
So you've been responsible then, isn't it? But I am mindful of time, because we've literally got like 10 minutes left of the show and we've still got quite a few things to get through. So we spoke about the immune system, right? So in regards to the immune system, because obviously we're living in this time, and obviously I don't want to mention the C word. I just don't like to talk about that C word on the show whatsoever. But what I did want to speak about is, how do we then build up the immune system? Because I know obviously you're speaking about like the food that we take, that we're eating, and then obviously it's a training and things like that. Is there any other tips that you can give in regards to the immune system? And I also do want to touch in regards to the mask wearing as well.
Okay, so we'll talk about the food. So we've spoken about food. It's so important that, you know, good food literally goes into your body, because if your body is going through, you know, I kind of see the season as a war. How do you expect your body to stand at the end of it if you're not putting in good things? And, you know, the body replenishes itself literally daily. So every single day you've got a new chance to get things right inside of your body, because what's happening is emotional eating is taking place in this season. And, you know, people's moods are down, and, you know, it's quite rightly that it's happening. You know, there's a lot, like I said, that's going on in this season. And because there's a lot going on this season, it's tapped in. The fear of social media, the fear that's in the media, it's literally just grabbed people. And because people are now in so much fear, loss of jobs, loss of finances, loss of houses, loss of health, what's happening now, it's, like I said, it's got to a place of emotional eating. And with that emotional eating, there's so many chemicals now that are just literally just uprooting itself inside of the body. It's causing inflammation. And with that inflammation, when you've got the virus that's lingering around the place, what that does, it gets into the respiratory system. And as it gets into the respiratory system, the body cannot fight. Some people's immune systems have been strong enough, they probably didn't even know that they had it. But some people, when they say they have underlying health, it's getting yourself out of that underlying health condition. So, you know, things like diabetes and high blood pressure, those are all lifestyle diseases. Stroke is a lifestyle disease that stems, anything that comes from heart disease, unless it's, you know, it's hereditary or you were actually born with that. It's 80% of these diseases that actually just start to destroy the immune system based on lifestyle choices. So the food can actually help. Your food is actually your healing. It can heal you in so many ways. Every time you put, like I said, you know, natural sugars, natural fruit and veg inside of the body. So you've got, you know, broccoli that acts as like an you know, the anti-inflammatories. So, you know, you've got things like turmeric, you've got ginger, thyme. You know, we start to put all of these into the foods, and when you start to put these into the foods, it will start to act as the healing properties that will fight against these radicals, because this is what comes into the body. It's radicals, it's toxins, and toxins need to come out. So when you place junk inside of your system, it's adding more toxins into the body. And because you're adding more toxins into the body doesn't know how to get rid of it. So if you start to put in the good food, start to balance it out, even down to, like I said, zinc before. And when you place zinc inside of your body, that's, you know, things like whole grain foods, you know, kiwis. Those are the types of fruits and foods that can actually help to get your body to a place of strength. Exercise is another one, because with the exercising, what that does, that starts to, you know, it starts to release like the dopamine. And, you know, you start to feel good, the feel-good chemicals. So anybody that's feeling like mental health is a challenge right now, but what that will actually do, it will start to help, you know, you start to feel good. Because if you don't start to feel good, then what happens is anxiety comes in, depression comes in, antidepressant tablets are coming in. Because, you know, even looking at the statistics, I've seen how many, you know, the antidepressant tablets have been given out over the last, you know, in fact, between the last couple of years, it's been absolutely ridiculous. It's in the millions of how many doctors are actually prescribing it. They're handing it out like sweets, because if they don't hand it out like sweets, the pharmaceutical industry right about now is not going to be kept in, they're not going to be kept in business. If everybody turned around and said, you know something, we're actually going to manage and do something with our health. So what you're finding is these antidepressants are coming in. Where they're coming in, it's acting as an inhibitor. They call it the inhibitors. And because it inhibits what's going on inside of your mind, what that also does, it suppresses the mind. And because it suppresses your brain, it actually changes the pathway of your brain. And because it changes the pathway of your brain, you now become addicted to it. And because you've become addicted to it, this is why people are on antidepressants. they will still experience, I was looking at the age of, what was the age? 18 to 39-year-olds. They said 1 in 3 have been experiencing high depression.
I'm going to have to put you just there. One moment, sweet. Olivia? Yeah? Could you guys still see us just there? We have got some comments on the we have got some comments from people as well. So I just really wanted to just kind of like quickly go through it. So James Khan said hi, Olivia. Pamela C1 says hello as well. Jeanette also says in regards to the accountability partner as well, she says God has, oh no, this is James Khan. He says God has prescribed for us all to have good things we can eat. He, God, has also forbidden certain foods. We should eat pure and we will become pure, body, mind, and soul. Thank you so much for sharing that. And Jeanette, oopsie, 1 second, I'm trying to multitask because we still haven't even spoken about the mask, and you're still supposed to be doing a 5 minutes little workout, but we're just going to have to go slightly over the hour. So I sincerely apologize. And if you do need to go, I totally understand because it is supposed to be an hour show. But as you can see, Olivia has shared so much gems, so much insight to us that I just couldn't even really, it would just be disrespectful for me not to allow her to just elaborate and give us all the information we need. And Jeanette says, I've just had my niece move in with me and I've had to share my healthy eating preferences. It's still a journey, but we are working on it. She now doesn't offer me fried foods. Well done on you. Well done, Jeanette, for even sharing that, because at the end of the day, you can still be indulging on that. Do you know what I mean? And Chris says, wow, I'm sure that's in regards to what you've been sharing. And James Khan also says the reason for these diseases is because we have started to consume more than the body needs. Maybe if we fasted regular like Jesus did, we would lead a healthy lifestyle. I agree with you, but at the same time, James, not everybody believes in fasting and everything else. So we still also have to respect, not everybody's own set. It's really down to the individual whether or not they wish to do so. But
I mean,
I just want to quickly. Go ahead.
There is, there is this side of intermittent fasting. So there is a way that, depending on your body type, there's ways that each and every single body type can fast. So it doesn't have to be, the biblical principles, even though it is the biblical principles. But if a person is not following, Christianity, for example, then they can actually still fast, because what happens with the fasting process depends on each person's body type. They will actually see the benefits of it. So they'll see the way weight can actually be lost through that time, and they can actually help to reset their blood, because what happens with the blood, it helps to purify the blood when you do a fast, because it helps to push out the toxins. So there is a way. So what James has said, I totally agree with. And, intermittent fasting can be done for others that are not necessarily on a religious walk.
Yeah, but even when you think about, like, say, Muslims and that, they do their Ramadan and they do it for a long duration of time. I think to myself, oh my gosh, you know what? I'm good. I can do the Daniel fast and things like that. At least I can eat like a fruit. I can eat some nuts and I can drink some water. But the fact that they don't even drink any water or anything whatsoever, I'm just like, mate, that is just. I respect them, but personally for me, that's just, you know what? Yeah. But I do get what you're saying in regards to resetting. I think that's great, a great way to look at it. And also it's helping you to detox as well, isn't it? At the same time, it's like obviously resetting, cleansing and everything else. Okay, so I want to quickly go over to the mask as well. So what's your insight in regards to us wearing masks? Because I'm exempt. I don't wear masks. And when I see in regards to the mask, it says government guideline. It never said law. Someone can't make you wear a mask. Like, I just don't get it. Like, it just doesn't. I've even had people come to me on the train and saying to me, "Oh, so you're exempt, right?" And I'm thinking, hold on a second, who are you, number one? And why do you even come to me? You went along, you're good, but why do you come to me about what I'm doing? Like, I don't even know you. You pay my bills. Like, do you know me? No, you don't. So why do you want my business? But what's your views on this mask? I need to know, because you're the health person, yeah?
Well, as for the mask wearing, it's very much of an interesting one, a very interesting season, and very much that, you know, with the mask, which is something that, again, it's something that I research, and I've researched quite a lot of. Something okay, asking for tips. Okay, so with the mask, let's start with oxygen. So when we are inhaling, we're inhaling oxygen and we're breathing out carbon dioxide. So when we look at the lungs and the way the respiratory system functions, it's all needed to work together. So in comes the oxygen and out goes the carbon dioxide. So the carbon dioxide, what leaves the body is actually the toxins. So with the masks is what that does, when you've got oxygen, say for example, so when you're breathing in and breathing out, water is actually leaving your system when you're breathing out. So when you're breathing out, if you've got a mask over your face, water is not being dispelled as how it should be in its regularity. So let's go back to the gyms again, where the gyms are closed and, you know, lack of exercise. Where the water is not leaving people's bodies, it's literally the stale water is going round and it's going round in your system. Toxins are running round. When you feel that you've got headaches, that could be toxins. When you've got neck ache, that could be toxins. If you've even got backache, that might be toxins. So what's happening is the water system, when you're putting in the water, it's just going round and round the system. There's not ways to be dispelling all this water out of your mouth. So this is where, you know, research and the scientists have said that because of the particles that leave is where the virus is airborne. However, if you're holding a mask, and even when you look at somebody that's hyperventilating, there's only a certain amount of period where you can place something over somebody's mouth where they're hyperventilating. It's not something that should be there permanently. So when you look at a mask, what the mask is doing, it's you're then breathing out the oxygen, and it's like in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. So your outtake is the oxygen. So your intake is the oxygen, and out comes the carbon dioxide. So with the carbon dioxide leaving your body, it's going back into your system. So when it's going back into your system, there's the toxins that are running rampant around your body. So when people are wondering, hold on a minute, my immune system, you know, I wasn't as strong. I'm now suddenly have underlying health issues. The underlying health issues could be because you're covering your mouth. Your mouth wasn't designed to be covered in that way, in that manner. And when you're walking around the house, because, you know, I know of a person who, because of fear, they're walking around with a mask inside of their house as well. And if you're not getting any, you know, when we look at the plants, you know, the plants in which is, you know, outside and, you know, the open, you know, if you've got plants on the inside of your home, you know, these are the things that are helping you to grab your oxygens from. So if you're not going outside to get the fresh air, if you're not dispelling water, which is what should be dispelling when you're perspiring, then how is water literally leaving your system? And especially if you're not putting any watery foods into your system, you're not putting good foods into your system on top of that, then what you're going to find is you're now leaving, it's like almost, you know, the anti-inflammatories, when your body starts to inflame itself, that's literally anything you see with an itis on the end of it. It means there's an inflammation, periodontitis. It means like there's a heart condition, it's a swelling, it's, you know, there's a inflammation that's happening. Arthritis is inflammation, and any inflammations that's circulating around your body is literally toxins that's running around. So what you'll find also, and it'll be quite interesting to find out, I'm going to do a study on this, is what are people's pH levels like right now? because there's a way of testing. I'll actually show, I don't know if you could see it from here, but you can actually, there's a pH strip where you can test your saliva, using your saliva or your urine to find out what your pH levels are. And what you might find to find out that you've actually got more toxins running around in your body. And if you've got more toxins running around in your body,
how do you actually get to test it? So what you just showed us now, how do you get that? How do you test it? Yeah.
You can buy this online because so once upon a time you could go into the pharmacy, but now you can actually just buy this online. It's called pH test strips.
Right.
It will tell you how much, alkaline you've literally got inside of your body. So it will tell you, if you match the colors, it will tell you whether you've got a lot of acid inside of your system or if you've got the right balance. But again, when you go back to foods will help to bring that alkaline level. And again, putting that mask upon your face, you're not ending up, you're doing your body more harm, because you, like I said, your mouth wasn't designed to be covered in that manner. Like I said, help hyperventilate. When you've got somebody hyperventilating, there's only a certain amount of period that you can literally hold that piece of equipment over that person's mouth. But what's happening is, when you've got so much toxins, like I said, running around your body, these are the things that are bringing cancers. Cancers on the increase because of stress, emotions. People don't realize that mental health, when you're feeling stressed, what that does, it sends a burst of chemicals into your body. And those chemicals that are bursting into your body is toxic. They're so toxic, it needs a place to escape. And if they're not escaping, and they cannot escape because you've got the mask over your face, you're not exercising, you're not eating right, guess what's going to happen to your immune system? It's crumbling bit by bit. And then before you know it, you become one of the vulnerable. And when you become one of the vulnerable, this is where now you're open to diabetes, you're open to high blood pressure, you're open to stroke, you're open to all of these diseases. But it's the inflammation is what is actually causing a lot of the diseases right now, especially cancer, because when cancer and COVID are very similar in the way that it multiplies. Once it gets into the system, it just multiplies. But when you start to put those things in, you can squash that. That shouldn't even be in the system. It should be like, right, come out. But if you're not putting in those good things to help to squash that thing to come out of your system, it's just going to be running around your body thinking that it owns it. But
what sounds crazy to me, based upon the information that you're sharing, what's going on in my head, I don't know about anybody else, is that they try and kill us right now. Because in regards to what you're saying, if that is the case, then why are they telling us to wear masks if it's going to have such a negative impact within our bodies? Do you understand what I'm saying? So it just doesn't make sense with this whole mask wearing. So I hope, for those who are watching, that, I know that this must really be just like waking you up, because it's woken me up. I didn't even know all of this, to be quite honest with you, Olivia. And I'm really grateful that you're able to share and go so much in details in regards to why we need to release. Because obviously keeping having that, what did you call it again? The carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide.
Because you look at it,
it's toxic. It's like, why are you keeping that in your body? How are you going to fight this thing if you're crashing your immune system? Literally.
It's like anything. It's like, I had a discussion with somebody recently, and I said, does anybody drink their urine? Or does anybody eat their excretion? Because excretion, urine, it's the toxins that are leaving the body. And because it's leaving the body, nobody goes back and takes it up to drink it. Nobody takes it up to eat it. So when you've got the body that's literally just recycling all that going back into the system, what can really be happening to your body? Because there's only so much that the body can actually take without it starting to strip down. And and when I looked at the antidepressants, for example, and the way that suppresses, when that suppresses the brain, and I think people don't realize that the effects that the antidepressants has, because what I found was where it suppresses the brain, it can lead you into a state of, because what it does, it's called, like I said before, it's called an inhibitor. So where it inhibits, the release of, the good chemicals, and it's literally suppressing it. So you can imagine just grabbing something and literally squeezing it. So as you're squeezing it and it's suppressing that, where does it find its release? So where it finds its release, it changes the patterns in the brain. And what happens, it can cause long-term effects. So your body then gets used to it. And because your body then gets used to it, your body then goes through a cycle of it can permanently damage your brain. And because it can permanently damage your brain, because it's literally had to shift and change the pathway inside of your brain patterns. So, and again, people go back to, becoming addictive to these antidepressants. And, what I also found was, especially during, the COVID situation, where the last few months, antidepressants, like, it has literally doubled. The prescriptions have literally been handed out. And that's why I say to anybody, anything that I say, go and look it up on the government website.
Yeah.
The government websites will always put the information out there, but it's up to us if we read it. And, one of the interesting statements that they made was, what people found was where doctors are literally handing these prescriptions out. It's literally down to manpower, and they don't have time. They're not going to sit there and ask you, what is your situation? What's your problem? Why are you feeling this way? Are you not sleeping properly? Why are you not sleeping? They're not going to ask you, like, get to the real root of it. Oh, it's something that happened 10 years ago. We're not going to get to that. They'll just give you the prescription, because we have to remember that, there's a lot of doctors that have studied for medicinal purposes. They haven't gone to study the holistic side of the body. If you ate these particular herbs, what could this actually do to your body?
Then the pharmaceutical wouldn't be in business then, really, would it? Do you know what I mean? So, at the end of the day, I always look at that, the pharmaceutical, as being the biggest drug dealers, period. That's just always been my perspective. I don't know where that came from, but because it just didn't make sense to me. Like, why do they not deal with what the root problem is? Why are they quick to feed you with these, these handy medications rather than dealing with the actual issues itself? But I just want to quickly go through some of the questions. Coach Carla asked, what is the best way to fast? Any tips?
Okay, what I suggest, because I fast weekly, and where I fast weekly, I may, I'll do it in different ways. So there'll be times where if I'm going to give you how I do my weekly fast. So I will do a weekly fast from, say, for example, I wouldn't have any breakfast. I just don't start my fast like that. And if I do start my fast off like that, I don't go for long periods of time. It would be like maybe just a short fast, like for example, like 5 hours, 5 to 6 hours, where I wouldn't eat anything. There'll be nothing eaten. I would get a lot of, like I said, waters into the system and start that cleansing process. And when I start to cleanse, so say, for example, I'd say, right, I'm fasting, I'm not going to have no breakfast, no lunch, and then I'll do it in periods. So I always advise that if you're going to fast, we do it in different sections and different times, so that you're not going full in, like, whoa, I can't do this. Because with fasting, it gets easier. If you say, for example, you did 5 to 6 hours for the first day, the next day, what you might find is it's easy. The third day, you might find, oh my goodness, my brain is going through crash mode. I can't take it. I need some sugar. I need to do something. You might get into that irritable state. Fourth day, you start to find it's easier. But what I always suggest is, because there's different body types, you've got the endomorphs, is like when you've got different body shape. So you could do the fast from like 10 o'clock, because I always say, try your best not to eat anything after 6, 7 o'clock maximum, because if you're going to start eating anything, what's happening with your body? If you eat late, because sometimes this is affecting people's moods. If you eat late at night, what's happening is you've got a sugar rush while you're sleeping. So you've got all these carbs that are inside of your system. It's then breaking it down into glucose, and with the glucose, it hasn't got nowhere to go. And because it hasn't got nowhere to go, it turns into excess sugar. And then when it turns into excess sugar, that then ends up on your system. And when it ends up on your system, it ends up on your waistline. You think, why have I just suddenly put on weight in the last couple of months?
Yeah.
So, try your best not to eat anything after 7 o'clock, and then you can go right through till 6 o'clock. And that could be one way of doing the nighttime fast. Or like I said, I get up in the mornings, and if I don't have any breakfast, I will just start my fast from there, and then I'll possibly break it at 12 o'clock. But I always find that in order to take my mind off food itself, I will go into meditation. I will sit there, I will stretch, I will incorporate it in with gratitude. So I'll say, an affirmation. So I'll say, thank you. I feel wonderful. I feel great. So boosting up myself, boosting up, what God has given me. And then the other thing with fasting, which I find that a lot of people are challenged by, is if you're fasting, never break it with anything big, because what you're finding is your stomach now starts to go through, when it goes through fasting, it starts to shrink. And as you're shrinking it, imagine getting something and you're just literally forcing. So what's happening is to the stomach, it's going through overload, and you're putting strain onto the stomach. So if you're going to break it with anything, just start with breaking it something small. If you're going to break it with dates, or break it with some fruit, break it with something that the body can actually handle. Because what I find again is
The sound has gone a bit funny just then.
Oh, is it gone funny?
Yeah, I can hear you now. That's perfect. Just carry on.
Yeah.
It's all right.
If you don't break it with the right foods, then that can also send you into a crash, and you think, why have I just done this? Because like I said, fasting will help to purify your blood. It will help to cleanse, because I think, when we think about the colon and, our intestine, the smallest intestine that's on the inside of us can be up to like 25 meters. So what fasting is doing, it's helping to clear the colon. And where it's clearing the colon, it's helping to push those things out. So I see, yes, and exactly what James has just said, and how it stabilizes your glucose. Because like I said, when you start to put all those, the junk food in, your body goes for a frenzy, and it's so imbalanced. And where it's so imbalanced, it doesn't know where it's at. So when you start to fast, what that fasting does, it cleanses the blood. It cleanses it, and it starts to bring your brain, it starts to bring your heart, because it's like, with the body, it's got two brains, it's got all two hearts. You've got the two, because they're linked. And what that will then do, it'll send signals to each other to say, okay, we're stabilizing the blood, it's cleansing the blood, it's getting rid of all the impurities out of your system, and it's helping to push it out. Because otherwise, when, like I said, going back to toxins, when toxins have nowhere to go, and then you start placing bad foods in there, this is where the chemicals have a chemical reaction. And when they've got a chemical reaction, this is where like cancer comes in. And cancer comes in because it's all these different types of chemicals that are literally just running around in your body. And it's got to the point where it does a takeover, and then because there's more of it, because it's being fed by it. So these are the things that when you're fasting, it will help to even starve off things like cancer. It will starve off like diabetes. It will help to reverse diabetes, because what happens with diabetes is, where I was talking about the insulin levels and the way that the insulin and the glucose is broken down into your system. This is where fasting will help to bring everything back in alignment. And then when you start to then put good foods back into the system, what you'll find then, if you start to do intermittent fasting, you'll start to reduce and reverse things like diabetes and, high cholesterol, for example. I'll give, my dad as an example. It's probably on the line. But I remember, last year when it was a matter of, okay, your cholesterol levels were high. And we had to go through a lifestyle change of eating. And, I commend, is it Jeanette that said, her niece has moved in.
Yeah, Jeanette.
As a West Indian brought up in a Caribbean household, eating, whole meal foods and grains. And it wasn't something that was really too normal in our house. It was only me that was eating that way, and everybody else like you're eating sand, but it was a way of putting it into the lifestyle. And then cholesterol disappeared, and so did high blood pressure. It all disappeared because it was literally a matter of what can we do for diet change now, because it's a matter of life and death. Do you want to live? Yes, we do. So let's go and just change it all, because it's just about change and about mindset.
I love that, Olivia. Oh my gosh, listen, I'm calling you Dr. Olivia from now on, mate. Listen, because you're just like a book. You know so much. It's just crazy, the information that you're sharing. I'm blown away. Coach Carla said, "What's your views on taking iron tablets as opposed to getting iron from your foods?"
Do you know something? In all honesty, I'm not against supplements, and I always say research your supplements. And the reason why I say that, because you have supplements that are out there that say they are what they are. It's like, when you look on, a shelf in the supermarket, and it has to say that it's got protein on it, and something that displays that it's got protein on it, be mindful of it, because it might not necessarily have protein, because they don't really need to brandish it out there. But if you're finding that you're not getting your your supplements, your iron through supplements, you can still actually get them through herbs. There's so much herbs out there that you can literally be cooking, like with your basil. You could be cooking with your parsleys, all those things, the broccolis. You can cook yourself into health, literally. And with those irons, you can, one thing I always find that, because over the years, I remember the doctor had given me a diagnosis of anemia. And it's not something that I've had anymore, because I've started to add maybe like one smoothie or two smoothies a week and start to add those foods in. And there is one supplement that I used to take, because it was quite soft on my stomach, and I'd kind of done the research on it. So look out for your natural your iron supplements, if that's where you're finding that you're not getting. Because what you'll find also is vegans, for example, they may not necessarily get the intake of foods if they're not careful, because what I'm finding with a lot of the vegan products is they're quite high in salt,
Right.
which I find is quite interesting, because on one side they want everybody to be healthy and not eat meat, but on the other side it's laced with salt. And so you can actually still get all those things inside of, like I said, your veg. You can still get them inside of your herbs. There's so many herbs, so many drinks that can actually just start to pump it back into your system. I'm just trying to think of some other thing I was going to mention.
But I also want to, because we're obviously going to come to a close with the show now, shortly, we still got to do a quick illustration of some light exercise that people can be doing whilst they're working at home. So are you able to illustrate anything there for us?
Yeah. Well, I find, I'm working from home a lot. I'm working online a lot. So what I do, I tend to have a lot of cans lying around, not necessarily cans that I eat or consume, but it's that's for why they're so bent out now, because these are things I was using in this demonstration. I was showing how much sugar was in the nutrients. But even when you're sitting down at the chair, always say make sure that you're sitting in the correct posture in the chairs, because what we're finding also of late is the amount of back issues that have suddenly increased over the last few months, especially with this whole lockdown. A lot of people are sitting down a lot more. So a lot of pain is being rooted within the back, and people they're just finding, okay, maybe it's the chair. But when you think about even down to your glutes, I'm going to just show you a quick, you can see me.
Yeah, I'm loving your outfit, I have to say, your outfit, mate, I just don't understand. Is that one of your own outfits? Is this your own branding or something? Because
this is a ScriptFit. Yeah.
It is. So what happened? But anyway, go back to your illustration.
No, don't worry, I'll sort you out for the next one.
Is this something
so when you're sitting down? Don't worry, I'm going to hook you up. So bring your foot up, if you can see me. So you're going to bring your foot up and bring it across your lap and sit down. And sit into your chair. So sit down into your chair and literally as you've got that hand, the left hand, press into your knee.
Ooh, jeez, I can feel that on my buttocks, man. Feels good.
People are so tight these days. It's the thing for me is that they're reaching out a lot for the ibuprofen.
Yeah.
Which is something that's we'll go through another topic another day about the
we need a
inflammatory.
part two, Olivia. We need a part two.
So change legs, bring that leg in again and sit down on your chair and press in. What you'll find is that it should be releasing a lot of the tightness on your glutes, because what the glutes is, because it's one of the largest muscles in the body, that glute then shifts up to your lower back, and as it's into your lower back, when that tightness is not released, it works its way up the back, lands into the shoulders, up into the neck, and then before you know it, you've got a migraine. So taking the chair, so take one leg back. Let me bring so using one leg, stretch back.
Hope you guys are doing this as well, I hope I'm not the only one participating.
No, you do it. And just stretch into your chair. Yes. And stretch into your chair. This should be releasing some of the tension inside of your shoulders.
Oh, wow.
And then change legs. So take out that same leg or the right leg, stretch it out. And lean in. You can stretch out your arms as far as it can go. So if it can touch the back of the chair.
Well done, Jeanette. Jeanette's joining us.
You can also use the back of your chair to stretch out your back, because again, people are sitting down quite a lot. So while you're there, suck in your abs and then hold the back of the chair and just lean forward slightly. And you should be able to feel a full stretch inside of your shoulder.
Oh, that feels good.
You can also use, if you wanted to do a full stretch, you can use your wall. So using your palm, placing your hand onto the wall.
Because you guys won't see me. I'll just...
And you stretch forward. Literally step forward. And you can feel a stretch on the inside of your chest. And then you do the same thing on the other side. So just place your palm, elbow, and step forward. Because again, what you're finding, a lot of people are feeling like they're so out of breath in this season. And if you don't open up your lungs and your lung capacity, what you're finding then, especially as you've got the mask on, your respiratory system is being tightened and it's being restrained, because what's happening is people are slouching forward. And because you're slouching forward and you're arched, you can't then open up your respiratory, because this is where you're having difficulty in breathing. So open up your arms. So even as you've got your hands, you can sit down on your chair and you can literally do this every morning. Just bring your arms as far back as they can go.
Ooh.
You can take one arm and literally just, so while your body's straight forward, And then do the same with the other side. Don't worry, James, I've got you. I'll send you one for
so
Christmas.
James buy the ScriptFit t-shirt. So I'm taking you got merchandise, you got products selling as well.
Yeah, don't worry, James. Send Carol your details and I'm going to send you one for Christmas. You don't have to buy it. I'm blessing you with it, okay? Right. Hands together. Bring them above your head. And even what you can do is where you've got a door frame, so where I was showing you the stretch, stand by your door frame and literally open up your chest. And I find that this one is one that I just do literally every day, because what's happening is here, people don't realize again that, especially of late, what I'm getting is a lot of clients that they're experiencing a lot of headache when they first come to me. And, when you ask how long have you been sitting down for hours, again, what builds up is the tension in your shoulders. And once that builds up, the tension builds here and it stops any of the traffic that's going within the oxygen, which is what we were talking about earlier about the water and the water going in through your system. So where it blocks it, it causes a restriction to your head. And as it stops the restriction to your head, you're getting migraines, you're getting headaches, you're getting tension headaches. So literally just take the 2 fingers and just stretch out. So just take 2 fingers, place it on the side of your temple and just draw it to the side. This is like the oldie but goodie. People don't realize it's like an old faithful stretch.
You can't go wrong with it, can you?
You cannot go wrong with this one. Because the thing is, once you release the tension here, you'll be able to be productive for your rest of your day. Brilliant. So if you've got any cans at home, so I always say stretch first. It's so important, because I say it's like having an elastic band that you want to do miracles with. Stretch first, and then you'll find
the last exercise, because we have gone all the time, Olivia. All the time. Let me take my earrings off. I've got some cans.
Are you ready to do an exercise? You're taking out your earrings.
Taking out my earrings. Okay, so what are we doing?
So if you just want to just do a normal shoulder press, grab 2 cans. You can use bags of, pasta, sugar, rice, whatever you want to use, whatever you've got. And then you just literally just bring it up over your head and bring it down.
Okay.
That's it.
And so together, isn't it? So the more you do this, then you should start seeing some definition in the arms and that, right? The shoulders.
Exactly. And it's not even just the arms, because what you'll find, and that's why I say the shoulder press is one of my old faithfuls, because with the shoulder press, what that will do, that will help to align the posture, because once your shoulders are set in motion and they're set in a great position, it'll help again with your position of your chest muscles. And where your chest muscles are expanded and they're out, your shoulders are positioned, you'll find then it's easier to breathe. But yeah, it's just so important to be able to do exercise. I mean, if we had a bit of longer time, we would have gone for probably a good workout. Yes, James, there is.
Oh,
James said, James, there is.
ScriptFit hoodies.
Yeah.
So you've got it as well. It's fantastic.
Yeah. So, but yeah, if we had more time, Carol, we would have done like a full workout.
Brilliant. So, Olivia, obviously now we've come to the end of the show. So you shared in regards to our immune system, our water intake, journaling as well, why it's imperative for us to be journaling, especially when you're having those rocky stages and you just put everything down on paper, which is amazing. I do that. Fasting, you gave some great tips on fasting. If you've only just joined us now, don't worry, you can catch the replay. You can always go back and watch it on YouTube or on Facebook as well. So it'll always be there for you to revisit. But also, Olivia, I mean, I did share too how people could actually connect with you, but is there if you can just kindly share your social media handles and how people can actually connect with you, because I'm sure so many people is going to want to get some more advice from you.
Right, so I can be contacted on Instagram at ScriptFit. That's ScriptFit. You can also contact me on Instagram, Ms. Olivia Williams. That's MS, and then OliviaWilliams. And if you want to join the Facebook community, so look at Facebook and just look for ScriptFit. ScriptFit Limited is me, because I know there's another one out there, but they're not the real ones. Just joking. Yeah, so ScriptFit Limited is me. So look for me on Facebook. If there's anything that I can seriously help you with, you know, I always say to everybody, and I'm real sincere with it, I don't believe that as we're going through this season, you're not going to be doing it alone. And if there is anything that I can do to help you to improve your health in any form or fashion, I am there. I am not losing anybody during this time. And, you know, if there's, like I said, if there's any way that, you know, any questions that you have, just fire them at me, because like I said, I do love my researching. You know, anything that I've done, trialed and tested, I've tested it on myself, I've tested it on clients. So yeah, just reach out. I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you to live. Your abs will come. I can promise you, your abs will come after, and they will come not long after. But my mission, my passion is for you to live and live a life of longevity, not for you to die prematurely, not for you to be taken out by no silly virus. You know, it's time to build up the strong army that is within you, because every healing power that is on the inside of you, it can be released. So I'm there to help you. So like I said, just reach out to me. I'm available 24/7. So just send it out, and I'm there for you. I'm seriously there for you.
Love that, Olivia. Thank you so much. Guys, did you enjoy today's show? I mean, listen, this has just been so insightful. Even Coach Carla made a comment. She said, just that little workout. She said, the workout, great little workout. I feel good already. So, girl, we need to maintain this throughout the whole of Christmas, James said. Young Kel just said praise. And yeah, so I'm just giving some information for ScriptFit Limited Facebook community, guys. So do obviously connect with Olivia there, alternatively through her Instagram as well. And Jeanette said, thank you. And you've spoken like a true health and fitness professional. And James said, I would like to buy ScriptFit hoodie. But James, just DM Olivia directly. But guys, we have now come to the end of the show. But don't worry, because we're going to be back next week. And guess who's going to be back with us next week? Miss Olivia Williams. Because guys, I don't know if you actually saw our episode, a bonus episode that we did for the Dating Deconstructed, which was based in the summertime in September. And then September the 20th, we had a bonus episode for that series. And it was a male perspective, talking about dating and relationships. So we had such a high volume of responses in regards to that show from the ladies, and Olivia was one of those women. Like instantly, as soon as that show finished, she's like, Kaz, I need to be in that show. You've got to do a woman show, you know, you've got to do a cannibal show. Myself and Janelle were just getting bombarded with this, and we were just like, okay, because we wasn't planning to do anything like this. So guess what, guys? Next week, we are going to be hosting that bonus episode for you guys, where we're going to have a vibrant panelist of women, women who are married, women that are single, women that are in a relationship. We're going to have, they've got some questions. We're also going to be revisiting some of the comments and the questions that was asked in the male MC's male's episode. And basically, it's going to be juicy. So you don't want to miss it. So make sure from tomorrow that you do subscribe or click the gentle reminder on Facebook, so that you can get a reminder of when the episode goes live, which will be next week, Sunday at 8 p.m. on Now Chat Show. And yeah, it's going to be very insightful. So make sure, guys, you come. Make sure you just had your little wine. You know what? Can they really drink wine? Is wine got too much sugar in there, Olivia?
Red wine's actually good for your heart.
Oh, red
So
wine.
red
Okay.
wine is a good wine. So yeah, so you know the wine. There's nothing wrong with red wine, but again, everything's in moderation because you know if there's somebody that has low tolerant levels, you know we could just talk so much about tolerance levels, and because it depends again on your blood type, because you can eat by your blood type, you can eat by so many different things, but you'll know different levels, and again, it's what the quality of what's in that wine, what chemicals has been put into that wine that then has an interference with your body. So you'll know your
Okay.
body when you taste something and how off
Right.
it can be.
So basically, sorry to cut you there, Olivia. So because I'm obviously time. Guys, you guys can drink red wine. Olivia said, all right, it's not going to affect your health or wealth or nothing. So drink the red wine. Me, I'm going to drink water. That's what I'm going to be doing. So, guys, thank you so much for staying with us. I've been your host, Kazmak, and this has been my beautiful guest, Olivia Williams, founder of ScriptFit. So make sure you are following her on Instagram and all of her social media platforms. Connect with her. Keep following her. She's always giving daily information all the time, inspiring us in regards for us to have a longevity of life for us to live. So until next time, guys, thank you so much once again. And Olivia, thank you so much for being here.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. Anytime. Thanks for having me.
All right. So, guys, thank you so much for staying with us. And until next week, peace out.